just among fun. Military science fiction podcast. Books or stories every Wednesday. Military science fiction podcast. Discussion, interviews, reviews, and rants. Military science fiction podcast.
We had an awesome gun talk thing happening, and then we had to stop and reroute. And now we're going to talk about what's been going on in the last 6 months, how things are going with the show, how things are going on with projects. Rick is
Where
already
we align with what we wanted to do, with what we're
Yep.
doing, you know.
Rick launching on project number 100 for the year, I think, and taking a vacation and getting a lot of photography. So I don't know who wants to jump in first. It's the 6-month update show.
Well, it's been, you know, I so far I'm really pleased with this, how this year has turned out. You know, personally and professionally, everything is going really well. I'm getting a lot of writing done. I think I'm at 150,000 words for the year so far, which is not Rick Partlow numbers, but I'm really pleased with it. I'm almost 20K into Endless War 2. And we're zeroing in on a fall launch date for that, so that'd be really cool. The longest battle went gangbusters. I mean, there is no, not debating is the wrong word. There's no like, well, it did really well, but no, it just did great. I mean, it for not even just for book 9. Anybody will be pleased with a book that launches and hits 212. 260 or whatever I hit, that could be a book 1 and be a success. And so I'm really, really happy about that. The audiobook will be out soon. So I'm on track. I'm a little behind, but I'm on track to do all my plans for the year, which is finish the Endless War trilogy and then get a good start on the other, the Chains of Mars / Buck Rogers style book series I'm writing for Aethon. And I'm pretty pleased with how the podcast is going. We got an episode today that was just you and Rick, but it was from last year. I guess we hadn't published it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So if you all of a sudden hear James talking about Thanksgiving, that's why. We've been really consistent this year on our publishing schedule and our we're on episode. This will be episode, if this comes out, this will be episode 30 for the season. So this will probably be the finale for season 3, and we'll start season 4. Not that it really means anything, but I tend to switch our seasons over around in June.
So are we planning on a 5-season arc in the series?
Yeah. And and what we do is we're gonna end it with like a murder-suicide. So, get ready.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which of you two guys is going to be the murderer and which is going to be the suicide? Because I'm just going to be the guy who reports all this afterwards.
But yeah, I'm really pleased with where I'm at for the year. I'm really pleased with how Longest Battle did. Aethon seems to be on a roll, releasing really good books. And then I've gotten to do a lot of stuff. Hopefully, we're still, personally, we're still on track to hopefully buy a house this year, and probably end up moving out of Utah at some point, or not. It's depending where we buy a house.
Mm.
And my son's on his mission, which is I don't get to see him for 2 years, which is great. I really didn't. I knew I was going to miss him. I just didn't know I was going to miss him this much. I now have no one to play video games with.
There's a lot of emphasis on when kids are little, and there's not a lot of emphasis on when they're launching into adulthood, and they don't have to call you at that point, but you want them to.
I really like my kids as adults. They're cool people. I like hanging out with them. My daughter's still hanging out, living with us, and I like talking to her and hanging out with her as a person. If she wasn't my daughter, I would hope that we'd be friends, So, yeah. That's me in a nutshell.
To be your friend if she was.
Yeah, that's true. I realized that as I said that it would be weird if I was her friend, but you get the gist of it. Well, that's me. That's my year in a nutshell. It's doing great.
This is me in a nutshell. How'd I get in this crazy
Let
nutshell?
me out. I can jump in, I guess.
Go ahead, James.
I mean, this year has
Yeah,
been,
James.
yeah, I know. I mean, I started the year strong, like finishing two projects. Grimm's War number, we still haven't really decided what we're going to call it, I think. But the Grimm's War project book one, we got that one in the can to start editing. I finished the next like book four of a five book arc with Ann 14 and Mal Cooper, and then I don't know. I feel like 4 months, 5 months has just disappeared on me. I've been making really good progress on book two, um, with the book with Jeff. Like I think getting through all the editing, that was the thing that I had been out of practice on. So working through other editor Scott, and then as Jeff and I have been working back and forth, that's been a lot of fun. Um, I have been putting a lot of effort into like improving my outlining. And that's kind of based on a lot of stuff that Rick has talked about, like using different tools to do that, like outlining, just always going into a writing session, having a really strong outline of the thing I want to write. And that's helped a lot. Um, but it's still been hard with just stuff with family things that keep coming up. And as soon as I get on a roll, like it feels like something gets in the way. And so I'm trying to just find as many tools as I can to help me keep my brain where it needs to be. And And then I think I had talked about I got accepted into a graduate program with Eastern Oregon University. So I'm starting that next month. And I'm still not sure how that's going to be, but I basically get to go spend 2 weeks over in Eastern Oregon, like 1 week just camping out on Lake Wallowa, which is a beautiful part of the country. If you've never been, like it's basically northeastern part of between Oregon, Idaho, Washington. The Wallowa Mountains are out there. The Snake River cuts through, and it's not quite a fjord. Like Oregon actually has a fjord in southeastern Oregon, but it's not. I mean, you get in some valleys up there, some that's just a drop off down in the Snake River, and a lot of elk running around. So I don't know, I'm excited about that, and it'll be the first time I've had 2 whole weeks away from my family. I think since my daughter was born, probably ever.
I'm
So
so excited for that.
well, what's funny is so I have a minivan, right? And I bought this minivan like for my daughter because I just had a pickup at the time, but I was going to build a mini RV. And I did all this stuff like I built a platform in the back. It's got a whole like loadout on the top with a shit, all this stuff. I put all this work into it. And the whole goal was we were going to do a lot of family camping. And then my wife finally admits to me that I really don't like camping. and, and we had been camping before. So so I don't know. I'm stoked to like go use my mini RV for 2 weeks.
I'm so sorry. That sucks. I mean,
It's it's just funny. Like every now and then I'm like at the grocery store parking lot or something, loading groceries in the back, and I've got my platform, and some guy will walk past and be like, "Dude, that's pretty cool." And I'm like, "Thanks, man. That's what I put work into that." But I don't know. I feel like this. I'm just looking forward to the rest of the year. I guess the other thing is that I have another series that is technically contracted with Athon that I wrote 2.5 books for. And I've also been kind of picking that up the last month and putting work into like using these new processes I've come up with for outlining. And I really just want to get that done this year. That's another goal I have to get that thing off. Just feeling like it's weighing on my shoulders. So I don't even know if they still want it, but I just want to finish it, which, um, so, but otherwise, the podcast, I've been really happy with that. I think it's just everybody, if you're watching, watch it all the way through or listen to it as a podcast or because it's really interesting to me how our subscribers keep going up, but the watch time, is weird where that is. So, that's the one thing I would love to see grow for us as time goes on.
I think we're at 12 or 13 minutes, I think, on average
Yeah,
watch time. But I mean, like,
So we can
you
stop
have to
now, in
remember,
other words.
it's an
exactly.
average, it's not a median. So
Yeah,
it's like
that's true.
they're like everybody who clicks on our podcast by accident, you know, or clicks on it and clicks away, that counts as a view. And so, it's probably significantly longer than that.
Hmm. Yeah, quite honestly, I hate that's something I've been feeling a lot lately is like I think I told you guys like I quit Facebook, and I mean that's one thing I've done this early part of this year is I've really been dialing in how much social media I spend time on because it just makes me mad, and then I find that I'm thinking about it all the time rather than focusing on other things with my limited brain space. And a lot of that is like the whole upvote, downvote. Did somebody like the YouTube thing? Did they not like it? Like how long did they watch it? How close are we to the hours? Like I just hate how everything out there is trying to gamify you into stealing your attention, and that's not where I want my attention to be, you know? So that's a thing I've been thinking a lot about this year.
Well, and we've said this from the beginning. We're James. You were a security guy at a IT guy at a university. Rick and I do this full time, author-wise. We are not doing this podcast to make money off this podcast.
No,
I mean, if we
no.
can gamify a little bit and get some more views to help more people with their writing and with their expectations of like the author business and stuff like that, that's great.
If we could
But
get
at
enough
no
money
point
to
am I
pay
going
for
to
better
spend
cameras for me and Jeff, that would be good.
better audio equipment too, and a house with an office where I could like set up lighting. But at no point am I going to spend more than an hour a week on this podcast. And most of that's just me downloading the video and uploading and all that other stuff. I don't actually do any editing, as you may have noticed. At least not on
I
purpose.
have noticed that.
I mean, as long as it doesn't cut off at the end for some weird reason that YouTube
That
does.
wasn't on purpose.
I know. I mean, and yeah, I think we're still pretty aligned with the goals I had too. Like I wanted, if somebody went looking for a thing about military science fiction, they could find it. And if they're also interested in writing it, and because I think from the beginning, like I've had conversations with people where you say, yeah, I write military science fiction, and they just kind of get this look in their face. And I think it's a lot more than that. I think there's a lot more to it. The characters, I don't know. There's all the things that we've talked about in this show are what I wanted to be out in the world if somebody went looking for it. And so I've been really happy that continues to exist. So, I mean, I don't know. I appreciate you guys still
We
work,
appreciate you, James.
I appreciate you. That's what I don't know.
I know.
I had other things
That's
happen this year
changing.
that make me like much more like likely to say I appreciate you because I don't want to have not said it.
Well, I appreciate you too, buddy.
Yep.
I honestly, this is sometimes the podcast is a burden. We've all got things going on in our life. Rick spends, an inordinate amount of time taking pictures of animals that will eat him, given an opportunity. Um,
Don't give him the opportunity.
I spend an inordinate amount of time with little creatures that like to beat me up. So,
And drain your money.
it's been all my money. But it's I almost always come away feeling better, and happier for having done it that week, and getting to talk about the stuff that we love. We love this. Why else would we do this other than we love it?
Was that it
Deep-seated
for you, James?
narcissism. Yeah, I think that's everything for me. I'll think of other things, but I'll try not to interrupt you.
Well, no, feel free. This year, the first part of this year feels like it has really gone past very fast.
You were very quiet all of a sudden.
Sorry. So the first part of this year feels like it has gone past very fast. That better?
Yeah, that's good.
Um, I mean, I just looked back at the beginning of the show because Jeff was given his word count, and I do have like 420,000 words for the year so far, which is good. It's about on par, but it just doesn't feel like I've done that much. I don't know why. I'm not sure how many books I've written this year because it kind of blurs together with the ones I finished right at the end of last year, but I think it's like 4. I know that I did both books in the new series, the Ransomed Renegades. I did both of those this year. And I think I did 2 Accidental Astronaut books as well. So it should be 4. I don't know why, but I feel this is not connected to reality. This is not like a reflection of my actual career or what's going on. But this year has felt like a holding pattern. Like I'm not like I'm kind of running in place, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because the two books in the new series haven't come out yet. First one won't come out till July. That kind of makes me feel frustrated. but that's just the way that Athon's schedule worked out, and the audiobook production for those books worked out. So as far as writing goes, it's been like a normal year in actual production, but I feel like I've underproduced for some reason. Maybe I'm just set my expectations too high at the beginning of the year. I don't know. I had a lot of distractions starting at the end of last year with my elbow surgery, and Beth had surgery and tooth problems and just one thing after another. But so I don't know, maybe that's the reason I feel like I've been distracted and underproduced. But other than that, just been kind of a normal year. Yeah, I have to admit that the whole problem with my nerve in my hand has been very distracting. It's been very annoying. When I sit in one place and write for too long, it gets numb, like from here down, and the surgery has not really helped that. Kind of wish I hadn't had the surgery, because I'm still dealing with the numb finger, and now I have like elbow pain as well. So feels like it didn't really accomplish anything. But yeah, the podcast has been going fine. I enjoy being on it. I enjoy putting it out there for people and engaging with the people who our watchers.
I'm really, I didn't
Audience.
mention Discord, and I should have. Discord kind of exploded this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there have been times where I've been on in a couple of days, and I'll click over, and there'll be like over 100 messages that I haven't seen, comments or whatever. And I
And
apologize.
if you like
everybody.
this show, by the
I
way,
can't.
if you like
answer
this
all
show
those.
and want to talk to us, feel free to go on our Discord, because that's where we talk to the people who watch it, our
Yeah,
audience.
for sure. And there's a lot of people on there now. It's really, there's always a conversation happening there.
It's been
Our
attracting
Facebook-
a mix of
Our
people.
Facebook page, on the other hand, has gone dead totally. Go
Well,
ahead.
it's funny
okay.
is
It
that
should.
we started that Facebook page because nobody was talking on Discord, and we figured, okay, we'll talk on Facebook. And for like 2 days, the Facebook page was hopping, and then it died. And all of a sudden, everybody came on Discord. So whatever, I like Discord, so it works out. I'm trying to spend less time on Facebook too. So,
I want Facebook to die
Why?
because I think it's a huge waste of time. I
Well,
think,
it's everything can be a huge waste of time if you let it be a huge waste of time.
but see, that's the problem, Rick. I have a hard
People
time with
blame
that.
social media for their own lack of focus.
Well, I think there are things about Facebook in particular that are designed that make it very difficult to, like, they want to keep your focus all the time. Like, they used methods from the gambling industry to design everything about the UI to keep you hooked.
I agree, but a lot of the social media does that, but you don't have to let them. I don't get that crap on my Facebook. You have to just set it the right way so you don't get it. I mean, I don't.
the way I said it is not to use it as much.
I know. Well, I did. I think
That's
I
not
told you
using
about
it as
this.
much
Like,
as one solution, but you can also set it to where you don't get posts from people who aren't your close friends. You
yeah.
don't get their feed at all. And I don't. I get the feed from my close friends, and I get it from a select few groups that I am in that mostly have to do with writing and wildlife photography in Yellowstone. And that's it. That's all I get. I don't get all this other crap.
So Facebook didn't start making up AI groups and trying to hook your attention with that, because that's what it did to me. And I felt like every day I'm just unfollowing fake group after fake group.
I don't follow those groups. I set it to where I only see the groups that I am a part of, and that's it. I don't. I follow certain photographers, certain writers, and that's about it. I don't get that much. I mean, maybe I don't doom scroll like some people. I just look at the first few and that's it.
Mhm.
Mostly, I find stuff that I'm looking for. I don't let. I mean, there all these various social media platforms try to get you to just doom scroll and stay on there forever, but you don't have to do that. I look at the first like paid, scroll like a couple times, and then it's like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah. I mean, I just kept finding like, okay, I'll check it. And then something, it's like, 3 months of this year, like you start checking it and then, oh, an hour disappeared that I didn't actually have to do that. So it's better for me just not to, just to delete it and not interact with it. But I think I have a lot of,
The
I mean,
only
I
time
thought,
I waste an hour I didn't have is when I start doing rabbit hole dives on like certain subjects on YouTube or
yeah,
I've got a pretty good balance at this point. Very rarely that I'll find myself spending more time than I meant to. It's just, Facebook has its uses, X has its uses. I would be lying if I said I didn't get I get people buying my books off of those platforms because I do.
mhm.
yeah, I do too. It's basically the most personal connection I have with my readers is on Facebook. I mean, nobody contacts me on Instagram. Nobody contacts me on X.
I have been using Instagram lately, but that's just because there's a certain bookstore that was unhappy that we didn't have them linked on our Instagram profiles, and that may be why certain things happened the way they happened. And so I'm, um, you know, trying to include them more in my Instagram posts and posting about it so that they see that I am more than happy to give them free advertising.
Anyway,
I just got
that's
an
about
email
it
from
for
somebody.
that was about
I
it
just
for
got an
me.
actual email because like there had been this huge wave of fake emails constantly from AI. And I just got an email from an actual reader who wanted to know where the other series was.
I get an email once in a while, but most people don't email. I I got an email purporting to be from a Irish TV show that was wanted to interview me about my book. That was not. I said I knowing because I used all the right names and everything, so knowing still was probably fake. I said I'd be happy to be on your show, and then I waited for the other shoe to drop. They said, "Oh yeah, and there's a small fee for this." Like, and then I just blocked them.
That's crazy. The exact same thing happened to me, but it was a PBS, not a PBS. It was a NPR radio show out of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Everything was legit. Everything was legit. Um, e- e- Except for he just casually mentioned in the email um, that there was a fee to cover buying my books for the other panelists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and then I checked the email address, which I should have done in the first place, and it was just a Gmail email address. And so I replied and said, "Hey, I'd be happy to do this. It sounds great. I'm really looking forward to this. Just send me an email from your at NPR account."
Hmm.
And because when I went to the website and I did the Google search for the show, it was all legit. It was 100%.
Oh yeah, the guy from Ireland. There's an actual guy that has a show there. That he talks about books.
And yeah, I
Like,
don't. Who do they think that they're targeting that has all this disposable income
That's
that
what
they're
gets me. Like writers are not a lucrative market to rip off.
I mean, they spent a lot of work trying to scam us, and it's just like, what are you gonna get, 25 bucks?
yeah, I just can't believe. I mean, I know there's people that fall for it or they wouldn't keep doing it, but it seems it beggars the imagination that people could be that stupid.
Well, and I don't know if we've talked about this on the show, but we've got plenty of writers that listen, and basically we're in a time where if you get any cold email of any kind about promotion, like almost, book marketing, YouTube, everything, they're all just scraping the services and then they're trying to set, get you to buy or trick you into something. And it's unfortunate because I mean, not that I don't know, I would typically never even trust any marketer that contacted me directly, but even when they're people, but still it's so there's so much of it right now. And it's sad to get like people get excited about it too. And like I'm sorry, you should probably look at this. It's not real. And then you feel like you broke their heart.
You're
Oh, Jeff,
muted, Jeff.
you're muted.
Sorry, I got excited about the NPR show. I was like, oh, this is really cool. That's kind of big time. And then I was like, oh, come on.
Well, that's what I got one that was, and I'm still not. I'm still not sure if it was AI because it was better than a lot of other ones. Like I got an email like faking to be a fan email saying how much they like this series and they like these things about it and talking about characters and they like do get kind of stressed out if I don't respond to a fan email, right? Like if other stuff happens and a couple days go by and I don't respond. So I responded, it went back and forth, and then they made a pitch to sell me art. Like, and I felt I was just gonna let it go. And then I was finally like, hey, if you're actually trying to do this, like you should know that all you're doing is making me like less likely to ever use your service because you did this. And I yeah, everything
I
about it
get
is
that
just
on
inauthentic.
I get that on Discord a lot. I'll get friended on Discord, and people will share um, Discords with me, like Athon's Discord or
Mhm.
whatnot. And the then they'll be like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Hey, do I know you?" And like, "Yeah, we're on the Athon Discord together." I'm like, "Oh, are you a fan?" I'm like, "Oh, a fan of what?" I'm like, "I'm a writer." I'm like, "Oh no, I was just seeing if you need any art services."
Yeah.
Okay, cold caller.
Yeah.
Maybe do your research first. It's like the emails I get where people are all like, the only thing really holding you back are your bad covers.
I get emails all the time from people wanting to sell me like uh, book what are they book trailers,
Yeah.
cinematic things. If I'm feeling generous and civil, I will actually email them back and say, "You'll have to deal with my publisher. They do all the marketing. I don't. I suck at it." But usually I just block them.
So what 2026 is the year of AI slop in marketing, I guess,
Yeah, and in writing.
and in writing. Yeah.
Speaking of which, we were going to talk about the state of publishing.
Segway.
I know. One thing I guess we were talking about it before the show, but Brandon Ellis, the guy that we know, has a book that's been doing very well with Doug Richards. And one of the things that just strikes me about this year changes in Amazon is it used to be if you made it to like the top, less than 100 of a category, and that has changed where being in the top, 1000 or I don't know, that has changed. Like that's been a thing where, and maybe you guys could help me with this. I think it's probably related to like, didn't they make an adjustment to how they're figuring category ranks, but then also just the number of books in various categories being published constantly has gone up, which may be related to AI slop.
Yeah, I think I read that they had 6 million books published so far this year, and it's got to be AI slop. Though, I mean, I stopped talking about this on Twitter because I was spending too much time talking about it. There's no ROI on it, and the people who are like pro AI slop are you just can't convince them that they're not real writers. They're real writers. They just don't have the time, Jeff. They just don't have the time to
Right.
write. But if they have the time,
It's like I'm a
so
real I'm a real hunter. I just pay some other dude to go out and kill the animal for me.
I
But
mean, my
I
analogy
pay for it, so
was
it's real hunting.
this is like a middle manager at Ford telling the engineers to build the car, and that makes him an engineer because he told the engineers to build a car and they built one. One of Becky's favorite books and movies is Pride and Prejudice, and there's a scene in it where there's this Duchess, and she's like super powerful, and she's like, older than dirt, and she's like, someone's playing the piano, and she's like, if I had ever played the piano, I would have been a true master. Like, oh, okay, well, go back in time and spend all that time learning to play the piano, and maybe you will be. You're never going to be a writer. If AI is writing the words, you're never going to be a writer. Period. End of story. There's no exceptions. There's no caveats. Whatever. You're not a writer. You're not an
No
author.
caveats, no
You can
emptors.
publish. You're a content creator. You can publish, sure. But what none of these people have been able to do is point to me a book that has been successful that was written by AI or even partially written by AI. And um, I can see plenty that aren't, that aren't
Mhm.
written by AI that are a success, but I've yet to see one that is a success. And they're like, oh, it's just a matter of time. Is it? Is it really just a matter of time? Or is it, you know, more like you're rolling the dice because you're publishing 100 books a day and you're just hoping one of them will take off and or all of them will make $1 a day or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So, I'm not overly concerned about people hyper publishing with AI. just because eventually at some point these people are going to be like, I'm not making any money. This
I'm
is
concerned
huge
with it
time.
not for myself, but for people getting into writing and wanting to
Mhm.
publish, and because it's hard to get visibility when there's so
Yeah.
much slop out there.
Which makes it all the more important that you do the thing that only humans can do, which is you write a really good book that brings emotions out in people as they read them,
And
which
that's
is not something
important, but
AI could
it's
do.
also, if you can't get anybody to see it, it's not going to help. You need to find a way to get visible first before people read it and find out
Well,
you're a
and then,
good
and
writer.
that's where, yeah, and that's a whole other discussion about marketing and stuff that I'm not really, you know, I don't really do marketing, so
I worry that
but
it's going to teach readers, like younger readers, that this is what it is. Like this is what writing is, or this is what an ebook is. And so like what you're doing, it's almost like doom scrolling, where you're like scrolling through all this garbage to find something that's vaguely interesting, and at that point it becomes like an AI writer like wrote 100 things and maybe one of them hooked, but that was what they consider, writing. And I was just watching a video about Hobby Lobby and how a bunch of I spent whatever 10 years working for Target, so I love retail, or at least reading about retail. But they were like, the guy was going through the store just pointing out how much like home decor art was all AI, and like zooming in on it and showing all the mistakes. And it was
Hobby
really,
Lobby?
yeah, at Hobby Lobby. And I'm sure it's not just Hobby Lobby. I'm sure it's everywhere. I don't go in home decor stores that often, so but you reach a point where it's so pervasive, and if people don't really take the time to look at it, you're not going to see it. Like that's currently and it's only that piece of it is only getting better. Writing is much harder than imagery, but still, that's the thing that worries me. There's always going to be that lower level of,
Well, is art is different than writing. It just
yeah,
is. You
yeah.
know,
If, if you are if you are a reader and you don't know what to look for in an AI book, it's very, very easy to find. For one thing, most AI written books are going to sound a lot more like screenplays than
Hmm.
they do books. The main character is going to have very little inner monologue, very little thoughts. It's going to be all actions. It's going to be, even if it's supposed to be from
it's
a
basically the
character.
worst writing you could get from a human.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's people write badly too. But this is a specific type you're going to get from AI. Um, it's going to be like, even if it's supposed to be from a certain person's closed POV, it's going to sound like a godlike POV. They're going to break POV constantly. They're going to uh, repeat certain phrases. You can see it if you read books that were written by AI, or stories written by AI, which I've seen them. They're going to repeat certain stock phrases that they use over and over. There's going to be things like he nodded once, she she shrugged one shoulder, things like that don't make any sense, but they're stock phrases that AI use. You can see them over and over if you keep looking at them. So that's the things to look for. If you see that, that is purely written by AI, and the person didn't even bother to edit it.
And I don't know. That's what worries me, is that we're not bothering to actually read it. We're not even working to create it. And Amazon, like there has to be, that would be
At
the
some
biggest
point,
thing from
yeah,
the
at some point,
industry. Yeah, I've heard people throw out like maybe it should just cost you $1 to publish something on Amazon, but that would at least be a deterrent to these people that are just uploading, when there is no floor to how bad something can be and you can just upload it. And the only thing is like forcing somebody then to read it and, you know, review it. Now you're putting the work on your customer. So you're just creating a bad experience all around, where I mean, how angry I would be. I haven't done it, but how angry I would be to like download something on my Kindle, be excited about it because I thought it was going to be good, start reading it, realize it's garbage, and now I've wasted, 30 minutes to an hour trying to figure that out. And just like with social media, like the stuff that's frustrating me with it right now, like now I've wasted brain cycles that I don't have to waste on that, doing their work for them to determine if something is good or bad. and and that's what irritates me about the whole scenario right now. Like I'm just
Listen,
A/B testing for Facebook.
there's some magic words that Amazon lives by, and at some point, somebody at Amazon is going to be like, all this AI slop is creating a poor customer
I keep
experience.
waiting. I'm waiting for that
Yeah.
day.
But you got to remember though, they move like a 10-ton hammer, right? And at some point they're going to fall. And unfortunately, because the author community is incapable of policing itself, there's going to be some innocent authors who are caught up in the mix. But it will happen. It will happen. And because there's a lot of people who are like, oh, well, if customers are enjoying it, it doesn't matter if it was made by AI. Actually, no, it doesn't matter really to the customer if they're enjoying it. Are they enjoying it? Nobody's
Man, I've
showing me any
had
proof that they're enjoying it. There was some author on Twitter who's like, I wrote a short story, and then I had AI write the same short story, and all my fans like the AI short story better than my short story. And I'm
That
like,
makes
what
maybe
does
you
that say
suck.
about you, pal?
Yeah, I will beat this drum until I die. I will die on this hill. Books do something that nothing other medium does, and it allows you to experience emotions from the written word, from the perspective of the character in the book. And movies don't do that. Television doesn't do that. Comic books don't do that. The words you read in your head do that.
And
And if
AI
those
does
words
not
are
do
written
that
by a
either.
computer, it's not going to do that.
AI cannot. That's the one thing that, like I said, you can tell it's AI because it doesn't get inside the head of the main character.
So I've said this before. Indie authors, the indie revolution was awesome. Um, People got access to a lot of books that they wouldn't have otherwise had access to, a lot of stories they wouldn't have had access to. But indie authors tend to be as wide as an ocean and as deep as a puddle. Whereas trad were very deep, but not very wide. You get one or two of the kind of stories you liked a year. Whereas with indie, you can get one or two of those kind of stories a day,
Mhm.
but they're just shallow. And so, the AI is kind of the worst of both those worlds.
Hmm.
It's not deep, it is shallow, but it's also not wide either because it all reads almost exactly the same. And, rightly so because it's all based on the lowest common denominator.
What
I
And,
understand. I understand why people think they can make money at that because there are sections of genre fiction right now where things like depth and plot and character building are not important. You know, and people make money, lots of money, at those subgenres, and I don't get them. I'm not going to mention any names or anything. I don't get them. I'm sure that there's a lot of value there. But the people that read them were not reading other genres of fiction before and then switched to this. They started reading this. So
and
I
there
can
was
see I can see why the atmosphere is there where
yeah.
people think AI books can make money.
Well, there's always been this cycle in Amazon in particular where there'll be some niche that somebody wants to, serve. It's often in the bedroom variety of there's some itch that needs to be scratched, and some person jumps in and does it in a pretty probably poorly written way, but they're scratching the itch. And then other better writers come in and start doing it, and the cycle, until it's overloaded, and then it drops off. But I really, AI is going to pick up that initial scratching of the itch, where it's almost like Sora or whatever. I mean, there are definitely services out there where you can enter in keywords and get a video that does the thing you want it to do.
they shut
And
Solar down because they're losing money left
yeah,
over fist. I
well,
mean, OpenAI is burning through $12 billion a month, and they're not making any
oh,
money.
they're going to do an IPO and pass all that off to private investors. Just wait. Um, but
That's why they keep talking about how AI is the future. I mean, here's the thing: when you hear people talk about AI as the future, these CEOs talk about AI as the future, AI is going to replace everything. Bear in mind, they desperately need investors to invest money in the AI. So of course they're going to say all that crap.
I shouldn't say private. Private equity is the one spending the money now. They're going to do an IPO and turn it all over to public investors. So I would not recommend that IPO. But
Anyways,
I
we
want to
kind
go
of got
back
onto
to
an AI topic as opposed to
I feel
state
like this
farm.
is all part of the minimum viable product, which we've also probably argued into the ground, going back to 2016, where, human writers figured out that they could just try and get something out as fast as possible. Readers respond to it, and then you iterate supposedly over time, but that everybody saw that as just getting slop out as fast as you could. And now we just start doing it with machine learning. So but I don't know what's going to happen. I really hope that Amazon fixes something. I don't know. I
I don't know if you can count on Amazon to fix
yeah.
anything. They're not. I mean, they do a lot of things really well, but fixing complicated problems was not one of them. The most likely thing they'll do is put some kind of algorithm in that labels things as AI written, and then they'll screw that up because every algorithm I've seen trying to pick out AI writing is horrible at it.
Misidentifies
So,
it. But
so
so I also
I
think about other
I have no
marketplaces
confidence
like,
in that.
you guys both had books that went into physical bookstores this year in Barnes and Noble. And so that the problem with Amazon, Amazon has problems, and then Barnes and Noble has problems. You're only going to find certain books in Barnes and Noble, and then you're only going to find certain books in any physical bookstore that's not Barnes and Noble, which is now pretty much the only major bookseller in the U.S. Um, so I guess like coming back, I just don't feel very confident about publishing right now. At least I shouldn't say. I think Athon is doing amazing things, and I'm really glad they're pushing the boundaries in the way that they are. But like I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday where like, oh, who's your publisher? And this was a reader of science fiction. Yeah, Athon Books. I've never who's Athon Books? Like they're a real publisher? Like, yes, they are. They are the probably one the if not one of the largest publishers on Amazon. And look at their website and look at everything they've done. And it just amazes me how we have these channels now where some people won't be aware that a thing is out there when it's having such a huge impact on a certain part of the market, as opposed to we're just not seeing these broad impacts like we used to.
Yeah, it's like Athon really is the largest publisher of science fiction and fantasy in the world right now. Um, and that's including Tor, who sells Brandon Sanderson, and whoever does George R. R. Martin, because Shirtaloon is, someone you've never heard of, Terry something, I forget his name, but he sells tons and tons of books. The state of the publishing industry, I feel like the publishing industry is not in the best place just because of the AI thing. But for the most part, if you are passionate about being a writer and you're passionate about being a successful author, there are things you can do to mitigate the deficits and things you can do to increase your chances of success. And mostly it's just about, being persistent. I do think that we're kind of coming back around to like, oh, we went from TradPub bad, Indies great, to Indies kind of suck, to hey, maybe we should band together and have some indie publishers, to hey, you need to find a publisher again. And if you're in sci-fi and lit RPG, you have an abundance of choice in that respect with Athon and some other publishers.
I think
Um,
romance has a couple, don't they?
They
yeah, and there's some romance ones. And and also if you're doing like progression fantasy or lit RPG, you got
What
Athon,
we
you got Royal
need,
Road.
Jeff, what we need badly is an indie publisher along the lines of Athon who is successful at publishing fantasy. Because
Yes.
right now, the only way to be successful fantasy is trad pub, unless you're doing lit RPG or progression fantasy. Like epic fantasy, sword and sorcery, all that's trad pub. It'd really be nice if somebody found a way to make an independent Athon style publisher that did fantasy.
But if Athon can't figure it out, I don't know who could.
I don't know.
I do know some individual fantasy authors,
I don't know
publishers
how
like,
much they've tried, to be honest.
yeah.
Brett and Steve did their book series, Web of Eyes, and that was their kind of litmus test to, I mean, I don't know all the details, but, I don't see a lot of epic fantasy coming out of Athon. I do see a lot of lit RPG, a lot of progression fantasy. Progression fantasy seems to do really, really well. There's not a lot of difference between progression fantasy and regular fantasy. So we'll see.
I know some individual fantasy authors who are using Kickstarter and, Amazon and things like that, and they're doing okay for themselves. Like that's the thing. I think they're not doing, they're not doing big numbers, but enough numbers that they can keep doing it. And I think are making enough. I don't know. Like one guy, he keeps doing it. I should ask. It's rude to ask him how much money he's making, but I am kind of curious. He's had several successful Kickstarters, so that every time I think a Kickstarter is not going to make it, it surprises me with how much money somebody pulls in on it. And I've seen a lot of things about how Kickstarter is not a sustainable business model because there's a lot of, you know, you always just have to keep beating the previous one, and it's not often enough money to do what you want to do, but they keep making money, which is interesting to me.
I need to try that. I just don't have the time.
Mhm.
Well, and Kickstarter is a finicky situation because it could be, you could be the month where, they decide that they're going to kick off everybody who they don't like they just did like last month. Whole bunch of people got all their projects canceled and all the money refunded, and because they decided that they didn't like the content that they were selling. And in this case, I happen to agree. I feel like that probably was a wise decision because it was borderline friends of the playground stuff. Um, and
The Kickstarter is a harsh mistress.
yeah, and but a couple of years ago it was like, oh, we think you're a Nazi, you're done. And so none of the comic book people that I grew up reading, like, Mike and Ethan, who, Mike helped create the Punisher, and Ethan did, Justice League stuff, none of them could use Kickstarter because they were quote unquote Nazis. So it's just like all depends on who's running the platform, and that's a terrible place to pin your business on, is the hopes that the person running the platform doesn't decide that you're a bad person and kill all your business.
I mean, that's the time we're in. You're beholden to the platform. Another reason to hate Facebook. I'm just going to keep listing reasons to hate Facebook. That's what I'm doing this episode. No, that's another, I mean, how as a writer, like we've also talked about a thing we're not doing nearly as much of this year, which is newsletters. That's pretty much, I think I wasn't big on it anyway, but how are you guys this year? Kind of, you talked about social media, but are there any ways that you're really connecting with fans right now, or is that a thing that you let them contact you? And
I have a newsletter still, but
yeah.
uh, I just don't. I only use it now when I release a book. I used to be anybody who asked me, "Oh, can you share my book?" I would put out a newsletter and then make sure it got opened by giving away a signed paperback, which was fine. It kept engagement, but it's like I don't see any growth. I don't see any increase in sales or decrease in sales when I don't use it. I just think newsletter is a tool that, well, I mean, I'm sure it's useful for some people who do things like direct sales, but if you're not doing that, it's a tool whose time has passed, basically.
Hmm. I mean, the
What do you
Discord
think,
is probably
Jeff?
hard to. I know several people have come to the Discord saying they specifically wanted to talk to you guys, so that's maybe
And you,
Discord might be filling some of that, you know.
and you,
Yeah.
people that come there to talk to you, James. Don't
Mostly
count yourself
Jeff.
out.
Mostly
You
Jeff.
sometimes want to talk to me.
Okay, only because I'm an extrovert. It's only because I'm constantly out here talking to people. I had a 1 hour phone call this morning with somebody who's on our Discord, giving him some coaching advice, which he didn't need. He's got it in the bag. Um,
People love
the
you, Jeff. They tolerate me.
well, you are kind of grumpy. Just saying.
Well, I'm older.
Cranky, cranky.
The you know, I really like talking to people, so I'm not the normal. I love talking to people about all this stuff, and so yeah, it's easy for me to reach out to people and talk to them, and whether it be Discord or Facebook. You guys hear that?
What's
No.
that? No.
Oh, you don't hear it? Okay, okay. Amelia's making some songs. They don't
Okay.
hear it. Whether it be Facebook or Discord or whatever, I really, or in person, I really like talking to people. I do get people emailing me on occasion where it's like real people, not like
Mhm.
your book intrigued me because of, oh, come on. I
Your
discovered your
your
book and it
book
was intriguing.
deserves more coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It
the
sure does.
AI,
Why don't you
yeah,
pay me more money?
yeah. But I don't do a newsletter anymore, and I do want to get started back into doing my newsletter, at least on a semi-annual basis, just because I feel like it's important. And I want to get back to doing cons. I miss doing cons. It's just been busy the last couple of years. Though we are doing Writers Cantina, right, Rick?
Yes, I will be
Yep.
And
there.
I can't make it this year. And I have
Damn
a,
you,
I
James.
know I signed up for LibertyCon too, and I not be able to make it. But
You're not coming to LibertyCon either?
well, that falls during the time over in Eastern Oregon, and then I mean
Ugh.
I don't know. I guess I got to see just what my wife's mood is. She's been
Nobody's going
very,
to be at LibertyCon, just me.
yeah. I There'll be a few other people there.
next year, or possibly 27 or possibly 28, I should be able to start doing cons again, in a big way. I really like them. I want to be able to bring Becky with me when I go to them. At the very least, I want to be able to Dragon Con maybe next year. because that one's so much fun. Um, again, because I like talking to people. Not so much fun if you're you don't like crowds or
I like talking to people. I just don't like having to wade through 10,000 people to talk to somebody.
well, the nice thing about Athon is they have a huge booth that they do, and you can just stand in the booth and sell your books to people.
Mhm.
Um, which is how I talk to people. Just like stand there and sell everybody's books, and then they're like, "Well, what do you write?" And I'm like, "Well, thank you for
Allow
asking.
me to show you.
Let me show you."
Allow myself to introduce myself.
I got to tell you guys about I got to tell you guys about this. I just had a moment with my daughter where she was out in the office with me and she starts pulling books off the shelf and she's looking at a book and she's like, "Wait a second, is this your name on the book?" I'm like, "Yeah, honey, I wrote that book." "You you wrote this book?" And she's on like book 11 of How to Train Your Dragon right now, so it's finally like she's finally starting to, really read and tearing through books and loving books and that was cool. That was like, okay, yeah, yeah, honey, that's like number, whatever, 6 of what I've written. 6? How many books have you written? Like, so I don't know. That was cool. I was that almost made everything work.
3,000.
Yep.
I've written 3,000 books.
3,000 books.
Someday,
The AI did it.
I
I
did
told the AI what to do, honey. That's what. Just
I'd be
reach.
willing to bet
to
that
write a
I'd be
book in
willing
the
to bet that
style
none
of
of
James
us
Aaron.
Yep.
I'd be willing to bet that none of us will ever write 3,000 books.
I mean, I
Probably not.
I have really
Not
been.
combined, all three of us even.
Yeah.
I guess it also depends on what you consider a book.
There was that whole low content book wave for a while, and now I see them in thrift stores all the time. Like I'll pick up some book that a journal or whatever, and it's obviously was printed off Amazon, and it's just some kind of
Well,
weird.
that was KU 1.0, right? You open the
Yeah.
book and you get paid the cover price once they hit the 10% mark, but the 10% mark was page one because it was 10 pages, and the cover price was $6.99.
Well, even I mean, like journals and stuff like that, or workbooks, like where somebody would target a book and they didn't have a workbook and make a workbook for it. But I am starting to see like more. I came across a bunch of John Brazy's books at the thrifts. We have a really good thrift store slash used bookstore, and it's always interesting to me when I see books from somebody I know and wonder how they, I don't know. I guess it's graduated now. What would have been a paperback from the '70s is now, the cycle has come around, and I'm seeing them in used bookstores, which is very cool.
My cousin was, not my cousin, my niece was telling me how she ran into my book in a thrift store, and her mom was like, "Don't tell him that." And I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "Well, that means somebody read it and then got rid of it." And I'm like, "Okay, but somebody bought it at some
Mhm.
point."
But
Somebody
you
needs to
have
buy
heard of me.
Yeah.
it.
It did
I
kind of hurt a little bit that it was a signed copy, but
Oh,
whatever.
geez, a signed copy.
Which means
Damn,
I sold it to them personally and they didn't like it. But
that does suck.
it is what it is. Um, I oh, speaking of signed copies, I do have a bunch of book signings coming up this summer. And it's all you can get on my Facebook or my X account. You can see and on Discord you
Go
can
ahead and
see.
tell us.
Um,
Go ahead and tell us,
what?
Jeff. No, go ahead and tell the dates and everything.
Oh, I don't know them off the top of my head.
Oh, all right.
There's some
Sorry, I
in
thought
June
you were
and some
just
in
like
July. Um, I think
they're
July
all at Barnes
20th.
and Noble, right?
Yeah, I think so. I already had the one that wasn't at Barnes and Nobles, which was Marissa's Books and Things, which was a lot of fun. I did that one with Larry. And then I got a Barnes and Nobles on June 20th, a Barnes and Nobles on June 27th, something else on June 28th, which is my birthday. I don't think it's a Barnes and Nobles. And then there's two in July. One of them is in Park City.
Everybody remember to send Jeff a birthday card on June 28th.
But the oh now I lost track of my thought. What was I going to say? Anyways, but this year should be great. I think we're all going to have good years this year so far, and going forward.
Yeah, I'm feeling good about the rest of the year. It always comes back to like every single day I'm trying to figure out how I can just get back and get back on track, get back on track.
You just got to write every day.
Yeah.
Channel it's so funny. It's like I used to say channel your inner Partlow, but like everybody I know now, like we were this weekend, we were hanging out with some writers and book shooters, and everybody was talking about like, wow, Larry, you write a lot of books. He's like, I work really hard, but there's this guy, And like, ain't none of us ever gonna write as many books as he is. And when he was talking about you, Rick, he mentioned you by name
Who was
because
this?
Larry,
Oh,
because
okay.
he's like, ain't none of us as productive as Rick Partlow. So you've got a really solid reputation among writers about how hard you work.
If only I had a
Yes.
whole bunch of readers who knew my name.
Well, you got a few. You're sitting in a house built by them.
Well, no, the house was built in 2013. I
Well, okay,
bought
paid for it.
it.
But
Yeah, no,
you're
I mean that's the weird thing about being even a successful genre writer nowadays is uh, you used to be you were successful as a writer. Everybody knew who you were. They may not know your face, but they knew your name. That's not the case anymore.
yeah. If this were the '90s, everybody would know our names, and
Well, there's so much survivorship bias. Like I think sometimes about, Robert Jordan or not Robert Jordan, sorry, Robert Howard writing back in the 20s, for these pulp magazines. And if after he died, if Conan hadn't taken off or there, all these things happened and like so many other writers during that time that for whatever reason didn't carry forward. And there probably are more opportunities now, but there's just so many more, right? So much more stuff being published. But also like I always whenever as hard as Rick works, like I think back to the time when I owned the distillery and like how hard it was to try and sell one product. And then you got three products and you could sell more. You gave people choices and like I know it's going to hit at some point. Like Rick has more products out there than any other writer I know. And they're going to hit or you never quite know when they're going to, something you wrote before will hit. And it's
well, I mean,
just
Drop Trooper was just a phenomenon.
yeah, I mean things have hit. That's the thing. I guess you also reach a level where I'm so I don't know, just what you do like always amazes me and you reach a certain level of success and like and then it's all of a sudden the bar went up. And so
Well,
I
it's
don't know.
not so much the bar went up as you hit the ceiling because
Yeah.
there was a ceiling for what we do. For the kind of science fiction we write, there is a ceiling. You're not going to get any more success than that.
I ran into that with superheroes where I hit the ceiling with superheroes. The whole reason I
Yeah.
transitioned to Mill Sci-Fi when I did was because there was no amount of work that was
Now you
going
have
to
to
get me
transition to
more.
thrillers to get more money.
I don't even want to write thrillers.
Mysteries.
I don't either. That's the problem.
I mean, I kind of like the idea of the military thriller, but at the end of the day, I'm thrillers do something for the audience that I'm not interested in writing. They're just also dry
Man,
and
I was just looking at Brandon Ellis's book and it sure sounds like science fiction. So man, I should
the
check that
sci-fi
out.
thriller.
But it's being
Yeah,
sold as a thriller. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
yeah.
that's a possibility for us, Jeff. We write a science fiction book disguised as a thriller.
Well, what I'd like to do is get to a place where I could write a standalone sci-fi novel and like something profound, like The Martian or whatever. You know what I mean? And like give it a real opportunity to be like a not necessarily a series, but just a book on its own right. But
Mhm.
it just I'm just so happy doing what I'm doing that I just
If I
and
win the
maybe I'll
lottery, I will do that.
yeah, or maybe I get to the point where I'm like, oh hey, I don't have to write a book this year if I don't want to write a book this year. I'll do something like that. But if we weren't authors, if you were a teacher and I was digging ditches, because that's probably what I'd be doing, it's my skill level. Um,
So full of it.
um, we still would be doing that, ad nauseum, day in and day out, until we retired or died, whatever.
Probably died.
So this is a way better alternative, so much better alternative than all of that.
Honestly, it's the only thing that I'm good enough at to make this kind of money. I mean,
And you gotta make money somehow.
I could be no, I could do other things. I could be a teacher. I could work in sales. I could be a manager of somewhere, but I'm not going to make this kind of money doing that, you know? So I am like at a position where, yeah, I can't go much further as far as making more money. But on the other hand, the alternative is working a job where I don't make this much money. I mean, I'm not a professional like a doctor or a lawyer, or my wife is a pharmacist. I didn't put that kind of time into the schooling, so I'm not going to get to that level doing anything outside this, you know.
Yeah, sure, I'm the same way. Yeah, absolutely. And and if my level of success is I make enough to pay for my family and we buy a house and we live our life and things are the way they are now, I'm perfectly happy with that. I don't need millions of dollars. I would like millions of dollars. So if you know a celebrity, give them my book. But
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I
If
um,
have
any of you guys have any connections to celebrities, make sure to give them a copy of our books.
tell them to post a picture of it on Instagram and we will
Honestly,
be.
I have a friend. I have a friend, my oldest, closest friend, and he has been very good about like if he meets anybody in the business, he will try to give them my book. Now, I don't think anything's ever come of that, but you know he tries. So I feel that he's done his part. Now you do yours.
I'm doing my part.
I know I'm doing my part.
Well, on that celebrity-filled bombshell, we're at about an hour. So, any final thoughts?
Well, I hope the rest of the year is good. I hope the feeling comes back in my finger.
Or jabbing yourself. Write every day. Make something every day. That's what I'm trying to do. Not waste too much time on rabbit holes like, will this magic new tool help me do a thing easier when really I just should have sat down and write write every day. So
Yeah, at the end of the day, go ahead, Rick.
I say that's the temptation is to it's just like in photography. Everybody's always like, well, if I get this camera or this lens, will my photographs be better? Now, so if you get more practice and get out and do it more often, then you'll get better. It's not going to matter which computer you're using or what word processor or what keyboard. You just need to be a better writer.
At the end of the day, you've just got to sit down and put words on your
well,
screen.
and even just have finish the words because you can be a great writer who never finishes anything.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
that's
mean,
not
that's what I
gonna
mean.
help
Like
you.
every day, if you're writing every day, you're going to finish something.
Yeah.
But you got to be writing. You got to be writing. You can't wait for some opportunity to present itself. You can't wait for this new device that will help you write better. You can't wait for AI to get better. You can't wait for a better time to publish. There is no better time to publish than now. There's no better person to publish than you. So get writing.
Like Elvis Costello, every day I write the book.
Every day I'm writing. All right, everybody.
Right.
Thank you for listening to us ramble about this. Y'all have a great day. Like, subscribe, share, and see you at the bookstore near you where you'll sign my books and make me super rich.
See you later.